Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Maggie and Ferocious Mondays. Today, we will be reviewing our last segment of episode 10 of season 1 of Maggie and the Ferocious Beast. Season 1, episode 10C, The Big Scare. In this episode, the Beast has a big scare when he sees a mouse. Maggie and Hamilton makes friends with Pippi the Mouse, aka Rudy, which I'll talk about later on, who it turns out is just as scared of the Beast as the Beast is of him. Once they get to know each other, they aren't scared of each other anymore. And the Beast gives Pippi a ride back to his home in Cheeseland. Now this episode, I really do like the concept. It's a really, really good episode. It's about, just it really takes what I said when I first started doing these reviews, how I talked about to some kids, the Beast may look all big and scary, but realistically, when you look far deep into him, he's not actually that scary after all. And I feel like Rudy is a great implication of let's just say if a kid who, before seeing this episode was scared of the Beast. I personally was never scared of the Beast. He was always a fun character. But anybody who was ever scared of the Ferocious Beast, I feel like if they see this episode, especially look at Rudy's point of view, they won't be as scared of the Beast anymore. And I feel like Rudy sets a good example for anybody who was ever afraid of the Beast. I try to talk to a lot of people who try to remember the show, but however, either A, they don't really remember it, or B, I just get like, oh, I remember the show. He wasn't really scary to me. So, but if I ever did meet somebody who was afraid of the Beast, I would try to I would try to take Maggie and Hamilton's approach about trying to tell Pippi, aka Rudy, about how he's not that scary after all. He's not scary after all. Also, remember what I said in my last review of the King of Nowhere Land? How he's my favorite. We're talking about my favorite characters. Yes. If any of you was wondering who is her favorite supporting character, it's Rudy. He's just so cute. He's adorable. He's so adorable. He's really cute. The fact that his boots and stuff don't come off, it's kind of I always thought of it weird, weird as a kid. But I always thought I always had this theory in my mind that was maybe he glued all of his accessories on so that it didn't so that he wouldn't lose his stuff, cuz what if before he had all of his clothes, he was afraid of losing them. So that was always a theory of mine. That was always a theory. And I like a little callback to to the first episode in this batch of episodes where Maggie and Hamilton are explaining why does Beast look so scared. And then he said that's what Hamilton says, "You look like you've seen a ghost." And then ironically Beast says, "Huh, if I seen a ghost, I would chase her right out of nowhere land," which is ironic because just our first batch of episodes was about ghosts. And I don't think Beast was really the ferocious type when it came to ghost, especially Nedley. Just throwing it out there. But anyway, I really do like the approach of this episode. Also, I don't mean to throw shade at Hamilton, but I absolutely hate the concept of when somebody says that, I don't want you guys to laugh at me, and then the characters are like, we won't laugh, we promise. And then when Beast says that what he saw, which was a mouse, Hamilton was like, he started laughing, and then Beast said, "You promised you wouldn't laugh." I hate that. And the fact, mind you, before he even said what he was scared of, he said, "Cross my heart." When you give somebody the "cross my heart," you need to promise. You need to swear on your life. Okay, not in your life, but you need to actually keep that promise. You can't just cross your heart and just start laughing. Come on, Hamilton, you're better than that. But anyway, I back to Rudy, or Pippi in this episode, I I still can't get no clear implication of why why like this change happened. You know, Rudy will always be Rudy to me, but what what made them change his name to Pippi? I searched high and low and cannot look for any any information of why this change happened. Was like a copyright, was like something behind the scenes that they wanted to change. I don't get it. Like, why? I'm gonna throw in another childhood show example of like something that like I have a vivid memory of, and then basically another show I watched when I was younger, like something had happened in the show, and then like this was occurring all season. Then the next season, it was a completely big change, and we had no answers for it. The example I'm gonna set is for Annie from the Little Einsteins. If you guys don't know, all in season 1 of the show, she had a blue overall dress with green sleeves. With green sleeves. Um, and then in season 2, she had a pink overall dress with gray sleeves. And none of the characters in the show ever call it out. Neither do they call out. I mean, obviously, they're not gonna really call it a name change in the show for Maggie and the Ferocious Beast with Pippi and Rudy. And as for Little Einsteins, we never really got an implication of why Annie changed outfits. People are saying there's some theories out there. The top 2 theories of like probably the last two episodes of the first season, the new season. If you guys know, you know, and how if you guys know the characters' names, you know, in the first season her outfit looked quite similar to Quincy's outfit, but yeah, but that's just an example. We're talking about clothing. We're talking about a whole name identity change. You know, we never got a full implication of why this came to be. I don't know why, but anyway, the Hamilton um putting his foot onto Rudy's tail, which is really really funny, trying to stop him from running away. And then Beast and then Maggie introduced all of them to him, and Hamilton fixed him up some lunch, and he did. And Hamilton, when he made Rudy like some Pippi some food, he gave him some cheese, and he gave him a little cup of milk. And then Maggie asked, "Where'd you get a little cup of milk from?" And he said, "It's my old sewing thimble." And I was like, oh my god, I literally, if you guys don't know, on my main channel, I did a live, and on the part of the live, I had showed how I made a little thimble from my mom's old sewing kit into a little rinse cup in my doll's bathroom. Like, that is so relatable to me now. Like who needs to get all like fancy, having to do all these like crafts and stuff like that? No offense if you are crafty, but like, if you just want to make a little doll cup, don't need to buy no Barbie like accessory kits and stuff. All you need is a little bit of your mother's love and a sewing needle, or sewing kit. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. And when Pippi is eating his food, him and Bees really start to get to know each other. Get to know each other, and how he finds out that all of his clothes are stuck onto him. And then Maggie says that when B says that's a little odd, Maggie says, "Well, it doesn't seem to bother him." And then he says, "Oh no, it doesn't bother me either." And then that's when they start telling each other they're not scared of each other anymore. You know, size doesn't matter as long as you're a good person who has good intention. That's all that matters. And that's when Rudy says something. Pippi, you know what? Forget it. That's when he said something I really liked. He's only ferocious until you get to know him, which is a perfect implication of what I've been saying throughout all of these reviews about Beast. He may look all big and bad and scary, but deep down, he's just a great, big, lovable guy, which I've known that since I was a kid. And yeah, and then we get another and then we get to look at Maggie's map again, and that's when we find out that Rudy lives in Cheeseland, and we'll actually get to see Cheeseland a more in a few episodes down the line. Pretty sure next season, actually. So yeah, and then they all take him back to Cheeseland, and they all live happily ever after, and Beast and now Beast and Pippi are good friends now, and will continue to be good friends until the series is over. So overall, I really like this episode. I loved its message, even though I don't know why what happened with the name change. I will say, if anybody had to ask me would I prefer Pippi or Rudy, I would have to go with Rudy. But Rudy just rolls off the tongue a bit more, it just rolls off the tongue a bit more. Besides, I already have another character whose name sounds a bit more similar. For all my MLP G5 fans and my bestie, you already know. But anyway, I'm gonna give this episode a 10. It's really good. I do. I really do like it. It's a really good message. It's a really good implication, and it's something that we all need to learn in life, Just because somebody may look all big, bad, and scary from their appearance doesn't mean they are what you think. You really got to get to know them. You really got to get to know that person before you can start making any judgments. So this episode is getting a 10. And overall, these batch of episodes were really solid. Really, 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 really solid. Really solid. They were really solid. Even though the King of Nowhere Land, I did say my last review was a bit iffy in the middle. It didn't really, not much happened. Just kind of a boring episode. Three Little Ghosts, and The Big Scare managed to pick itself back up with this 10th batch of episodes. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy that we ended off on the 10. It's always good to end off. It's always good to start off good and to end off good. And that's what I like to see. So, as of that, we are done with this batch of episodes. So, you know what that means? Tune in with me next time as we will be reviewing our 11th episode with our next 3 batch of episodes. Season 1, episode 11A, Mr. Shivers. See you all next time. Great. Googly moogly.